Rose just dragged Shawn Kingston for filth, blasting him over a $1 million fraud scheme that's now officially landed Shawn and his mama some legal trouble. He also exposed other celebrities who got scammed by Shawn. And to top it all off, he's calling cap on that so-called boat accident too. But let's start with the fraud charge. According to Ricky, Shawn Kingston and his mama been out here running one of the slickest celebrity scams we've seen in a minute, and now we got official confirmation on it too.
A federal jury finds rapper Shawn Kingston and his mother guilty on all charges in their fraud trial. The pair accused of acquiring luxury items but scheming never to pay for them. The artist, whose real name is Sean Anderson, left the courtroom tonight without speaking to reporters. He'll be on house arrest until sentencing.
Feds say they were scamming folks out of over $1 million by pretending to buy luxury stuff. Cars, big TVs, ice, the whole nine, but never actually paid for any of it. And Ross is claiming this been going on for years. Here's how they pulled it off. Shawn would flex his celebrity status, throw names like Justin Bieber around, and promise shout-outs or social media promo in exchange for the goods. But when it came time to pay up, they'd send over fake wire transfers like, "Yeah, the money's coming," and then ghost. So let's see some of the stuff they finessed. First in line is a bulletproof Escalade worth $160,000, luxury watches, a massive 232-inch LED screen, and over $480,000 in jewelry. They were living large off of lies. And guess what Ross put out there? There's actual receipts, literally. Prosecutors pulled up text messages where Shawn told his mama to make a fake receipt so it looked like the money was on the way. Meanwhile, the vendors were chasing them down, only getting paid if they threatened to sue or brought in the cops. But Mama Kingston wasn't just a sidekick either. The judge straight up said she was the real mastermind, running the books, making the moves, and calling the shots. And this ain't her first rodeo. She did time back in 2006 for bank fraud too. Now, here's where it gets serious. They got hit with multiple wire fraud charges, and the sentencing is set for July 11th, 2025. Each charge could land them up to 20 years in prison. After the guilty verdict, Janice got locked up right away, and Shawn? He's chilling on house arrest, sitting pretty on a $500,000 property bond and $200,000 cash bail. The feds also pointed out how the prosecution wasn't playing. They called them straight-up masters of deception. But Shawn's lawyer tried to paint him as just some clueless celeb who ain't know how to run his business, while Janice's team tried to flip it, claiming the victims were shady themselves. Bottom line, Ross ain't buying the act and the feds ain't either. Shawn built a whole fake empire off his name and fame, but the feds just pulled the rug all the way out. But let's not pretend like this ain't been happening for longer than just a minute now. Remember that little boat accident story?
Pop singer Shawn Kingston is in a Miami hospital after crashing a jet ski into a bridge. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission says Kingston and a female passenger were injured when the watercraft hit the Palm Island Bridge yesterday.
Yeah, that's looking more and more staged now. So let's talk about Shawn Kingston and that infamous 2011 jet ski accident. Now officially, this was a tragic near-death experience. Man had a torn aorta, broken ribs, a shattered wrist, and almost drowned. He was in critical condition, had emergency open heart surgery, and spent over 3 weeks in the hospital. Doctors literally said he tried to die a couple of times.
It was Memorial weekend. You know what I'm saying? I lived on Star Island, so I had like 2 jet skis. I had bought 2 jet skis and I had them on the dock, and it was a nice, beautiful day out. We had like a little get-together party, and so I'm like, I want to go out and ride the jet skis.
But when you start looking at how the story played out after the crash, you gotta wonder, was there more to this?
I went out there an hour later. I wanted that hour later to ride again, and I was, going fast. I'm not gonna lie, I was speeding, and then I couldn't slow down in time, so I ended up hitting the bridge, and my jet ski ran into the bridge. And the impact, I was going like 65 miles per hour, and the impact was so powerful that I ended up tearing my aorta, which is a tube that connects to, a tube that runs the blood through from the heart.
Think about it. Before the accident, Shawn's buzz was already fading. Beautiful Girls had its moment. The Justin Bieber cosign helped, but his shine was dimming. Then boom, he crashes into a bridge on a jet ski with a woman on the back, and suddenly he's trending again. Everybody's talking about him, celebrities are tweeting prayers, and the media is giving him a full sympathy arc. His comeback album is even called Back to Life. Now that's either the most poetic coincidence ever or a calculated rebrand move. And if you know how this industry moves, nothing's really off the table. Rick Ross would probably say, "I know the game. When the buzz fades, you gotta find a new way to ring bells. Sometimes that ring comes with a little splash." And honestly, he's not wrong. Artists have staged everything from fake relationships to full-on beefs. A near-death story? That's headline gold. And even though Kingston's post-accident singles didn't exactly climb the charts, people were suddenly invested in his story. He went from fading artist to inspirational figure almost overnight. Weight loss, lifestyle changes, new energy. He used that tragedy to rebrand hard. To be fair though, all the injuries were pretty real. The body imprints on the bridge were documented. Witnesses, fines, medical records. There's no solid evidence to say he staged anything. The crash was officially ruled an accident caused by speeding and inexperience. So no, it probably wasn't some evil genius PR move. But did he use it to shift his public image and create a new storyline for his career? Absolutely. That man turned a near-death experience into the perfect rollout for his rebirth. So Shawn could have staged the accident, but if he did, he probably went way too overboard. Whatever the case may be, the jig is now up after him, and his mom were found guilty. Shawn and his mama used famous names to pull in their real victims, which were business owners and vendors. First off, one of the big moves Shawn pulled was claiming he was working on projects with Justin Bieber. He allegedly told a high-end jeweler that he and Bieber had a deal going on, and that if the jeweler gave him a $285,000 Audemars Piguet watch, he'd get exposure through Bieber. These vendors thought they were buying into celebrity collabs, when really, they were getting played. And it didn't stop there. Prosecutors said Kingston would tell vendors that if they gave him stuff, cars, furniture, jewelry, he could get their products in the hands of other celebs too. It was like he was selling a VIP pass to Hollywood without ever having the pass to begin with. But what's interesting is that none of these celebs actually got involved. There's zero evidence Justin Bieber or anyone else even knew their names were being tossed around. Shawn was just using the aura of celebrity to work the scam. The people getting hit were business owners, jewelers, car dealerships, banks, furniture sellers, folks who were trusting his celeb connections and getting robbed blind. Like one jeweler lost nearly $300,000. A Cadillac dealer was shorted $160,000. A furniture plug, down $86,000. And don't even get me started on the bank fraud. Shawn and his mama pulled over $300,000 from Bank of America and First Republic using fake documents. Y'all, this was full-on organized fraud. Shawn used fame as a shield and a weapon. That's the slickest part of the whole thing. He knew that people would drop their guard if they thought they were dealing with someone connected to fame. But why was it Rick Ross out of all the people who decided to speak up about this situation? Well, here's why. When we talk Rose and Kingston, we're talking over 17 years of collaboration, cameos, cosigns, and quiet loyalty. But in light of Kingston's recent fraud drama, people are starting to side-eye the connection and ask, was Ross just being a big bro, or was he turning a blind eye to something deeper? Let's rewind it back to the early days. Shawn was young, rich, and popping off of beautiful girls, and Ross was already the boss of Miami. Their relationship started off super tight. Kingston even called Ross his big brother, and said the man would pull up no questions asked. These weren't just music industry acquaintances. They were hooping at Ross's house, rolling in the same Miami circles, and sharing stages and music video cameos like it was nothing. And that Miami connection? Everybody who knows the South Florida scene knows that's not just about palm trees and penthouses, it's about alliances, mutual favors, loyalty codes, all that. Remember when Ross needed support? Shawn was there for him.
Just want to say, Rick Ross, I was in critical condition. I was in the hospital. I was on my deathbed. I understand what you are going through. Prayers up, man. You are a beautiful person. You're a great dad. You have a beautiful family. Don't leave too soon.
Now, over the years, they didn't slow down. From Colors to Moneybag, these two kept the link alive. long past when most folks wrote Shawn off. But Ross is known to cut ties quick if things get messy. Ask 50 Cent, ask Birdman, even ask Meek. We're seeing pretty much the same thing roll out here with Shawn Kingston. Now that Shawn's facing real charges for fraud, scams, and being knee-deep in shady business with his mama, Ross ain't helping out at all. Some are even wondering if Ross knew about Kingston's hustle before things blew up. Not saying he was involved, but in the music industry, everybody hears whispers. And when you've been this close to someone for this long, it's hard to believe you didn't catch some signs. So first things first, mark your calendars. Shawn's sentencing is set for July 11th, 2025. That's when we'll find out if he's headed behind bars and for how long. And let me tell you, the numbers floating around are serious. He's facing up to 20 years per charge. And with multiple wire fraud counts stacked up, if the court wanted to make an example out of him, they could. But sentences might run at the same time, which means he might not do the full stretch. Now, here's where things get complicated. Shawn is technically a first-time federal offender, and that usually helps folks catch a lighter sentence. But prosecutors are coming in hot, calling him and his mom masters of deception. Plus, remember, his mama already has a prior fraud conviction from 2006, and that history definitely ain't helping their case. As of now, Shawn's not chilling completely free. He's under house arrest, rocking that ankle monitor, probably trying to figure out what went wrong. He had to drop a $200,000 cash deposit and put up a $500,000 property bond just to stay out until sentencing. That's $500,000 just to sleep in your own bed. But it's not over just yet. His legal team already confirmed they're appealing the verdict, which means jail time might be pushed back while the appeal plays out. And sis, his mama's lawyer is fighting too, saying some of the vendors were being messy themselves, allegedly calling people fraudsters. Now let's talk about sentencing factors. On one hand, you've got the scale of the scam. We're talking over $1 million in goods, including luxury cars, watches, and big screen TVs. On the other hand, Shawn's camp might try to play the sympathy card, pointing to his health conditions like asthma and a heart issue to ask for leniency. Will the judge buy it? We'll see. But while Shawn's scrambling for leniency, the public is not here for it. The community reaction has been a collective side-eye. Folks are disappointed, not just in the scam itself, but in what it says about chasing clout and not living within your means. The sentiment is clear. Instead of focusing on sustainable success, Shawn and his team blew through money and burned bridges trying to look rich instead of being rich. And in this economy, people just aren't feeling the fake it till you make it hustle anymore. And we gotta mention the things that they got by scamming people and what happens to that too. The authorities didn't just come for the man himself, they went for everything. The feds seized some major luxury items during a SWAT raid in May 2024 at his Florida rental home. Those items are sitting in federal custody as evidence until sentencing. There are a few scenarios at play. First, if the court clears it, those items could be returned to the victims. Vendors like Moshe the jeweler, who got scammed in this whole scheme, might get their goods back, provided they're still in decent shape and haven't mysteriously vanished. But if those items are damaged, sold, or just disappeared somehow, Shawn Kingston and his mother might be required to repay their cash value. We're talking over $1 million in restitution for all those stolen goods. So if the Escalade has a few dents or that watch can't be found, it's going to cost them. If the court decides to go the forfeiture route though, they might sell those items off. The proceeds would then either go to victim restitution or be used to cover government penalties. Either way, Kingston's luxury lifestyle is getting liquidated one way or another. And let's not forget that other assets like his rental property could also be seized to pay the bill. The feds have plenty of options when it comes to making sure victims get what they're owed. Now, there's a messy legal process in play. Victims will have to file claims to get their stuff back, and it's possible some of those goods have already been sold, hidden, or not even reported, which could complicate the recovery process. The court's final decision will determine whether the stolen items are returned or if they'll have to get repaid in cash. And don't think that's the end of it. This case could set a precedent, especially with the size and scope of the fraud. Kingston's fraud case isn't just about jail time. It's about reparations for the victims and the forfeiture of everything he's illegally acquired. By the time July 11th rolls around and the sentencing happens, the feds will have figured out what happens to all those seized items, and that could impact the final sentence. Restitution is coming one way or another, and whether it's the flashy cars and watches being returned or cold, hard cash, Kingston and his mom are going to pay for what they've done. The feds don't play when it comes to fraud, especially when it's this flashy in public. This wasn't some low-key embezzlement. This was a full-blown flex-turned fraud. And as for the music, there's something to be said about that too. Well, truth be told, Shawn Kingston's career has been on life support since the 2010s. But who knows? Maybe after all this, he'll pull a comeback story, drop a documentary, or go on a redemption tour. Stranger things have happened in this industry, but right now, that comeback is on pause. Bottom line, Shawn Kingston's future is hanging in the balance. He might dodge the harshest sentence thanks to that appeal, but the feds have receipts, the public is disappointed, and the clock is ticking. July 11th could change everything. And the news just came in the other day that Kingston couldn't pay up for the bond release. Remember how the court told him he needed to cough up $200,000 in cash plus back it up with $500,000 in real estate just to stay on house arrest? Now, Shawn and his team tried to get slick and swap in a relative's debt-free property to help cover the bond. Cute idea, except it still left them $100,000 short. Fast forward to a few days back, they show up to court, probably hoping for a miracle. But nope. His legal team straight up told the judge, "We don't have the money." So the judge was like, "Say less," and had him taken straight into federal custody. So yeah, Shawn is now in the hands of the US Marshals because he couldn't come up with that last chunk of change. And unless he magically finds $100,000 under his mattress, he's staying behind bars until his sentencing in July. Now, if you're wondering where's the money, well, someone who has to be a fraud probably doesn't handle money that well to begin with. First off, a lot of the flashy stuff we've seen him flaunting, like that bulletproof Escalade and those huge LED screens, was actually fraudulently obtained. Meaning, he never really owned them. He scammed vendors with fake wire receipts, not real cash. So the luxury, it was all smoke and mirrors. Let's be real, Shawn hasn't had a major hit in years. Like, when's the last time he charted? His main source of income might have been performance gigs and random collabs, and even that was probably inconsistent. Plus, since this legal mess started brewing, a lot of that income likely dried up. And as you know, those lawyers don't work for free. With him and his mama both facing serious charges, he's probably dropped a bag on legal help already. But what do you think about Shawn Kingston's fraud case and the fact he paired up with his mom in order to scam people? Do you think Rosie was right to expose him? Let us know about it down below.